Hey folks, this is Jason Lewis, the producer of the From the Shadows podcast. I just want to remind you about our website, fromtheshadowspodcast.com. We have a Facebook page. We would appreciate it if you like and follow. Also, join our discussion group on Facebook called After the Shadows. We have a Twitter feed. Please follow us on Twitter. It can be found with @podcast_from. Follow us on Instagram at From the Shadows Podcast. We have a YouTube channel. Go to the search bar at YouTube and put From the Shadows Podcast, and please subscribe to that channel. We are also on the Odyssey Radio Network, and we can be found there at odyssey1.com. We're still on the traditional podcatchers that everybody loves to listen to us on. We get a lot of feedback, so please rate the podcast and communicate with whether you're on Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, or Google Podcasts. We're there, and we appreciate it when you leave comments for us. Well, that's all I have for you right now, folks, and thanks for being a part of the From the Shadows podcast family. So with that being said, let's get this episode started. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the rest of this amazing interview with our special guest, Stacy Brown Jr., Skunk Ape expert, movie director, and actor. So without further delay, here is your host, Shane Grove.
Hey everyone, Shane Grove here, and I want to let you guys know that my book series, From the Shadows, is available on Amazon and Amazon Kindle. There are 3 different books available. There's Volume 1 and Volume 2, Return of the Lizard Man, and then there's a special screenplay edition which includes both Volume 1 and Volume 2 in screenplay format. So if you're a big fan of Bigfoot, lizard men, conspiracy theories, the X-Files, and mysterious men in black, I urge you to go and check out these books. And if you like them, you know what? Please leave me a great review. And if you don't like them, I apologize. So anyway, check them out. And if you really want a autographed copy, message me through From the Shadows Podcast, and I'll see what I can do. Thanks. Enjoy the episode.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to give away a bunch of the different stories on it because it's such a good film. I do
want to touch on the story about you and your dad, because that piece of footage has been I think a lot of people that are into Bigfoot and the Skunk Ape have already seen that piece of footage that your dad took that night. So, I mean, I don't think it's going to give away too much talking about that story. Listening to your dad retell that story was fantastic, because you could see it in, you want to give the listeners a little bit on that story there and what was going through your mind as your dad basically lied to you?
He wasn't really a believer, so that's what kind of, I guess he had got over cancer. We were hanging out, you know what I meant? He knew how much I was into it, but didn't really believe. And you get to see it. I don't want to take it from the viewer, but you get to see him, because see, I'm filming him.
Yeah.
And he's filming it. And when you think about it, I don't know of a sighting or an encounter that has better documentation. Between the thermal footage, the handycam footage, and then Cliff Barackman's, recreation. We outsourced that shit, man. We didn't. I'd love to say it was because I thought, hey, it'll look better if he does it, but I'm not that smart to come up with all that stuff. I don't know math like that. I was in pre-algebra for 4 years. Like I started remembering the word problems. I still didn't know what the hell the answer was, but I remember I'd read that shit the year before.
Well, now I don't trust anything you said about Film Hub's analytics because I don't think that you
No,
could
there
follow
ain't
them
none.
anyway.
There ain't none.
Could you follow them anyway? If you
I could. I got my son's really good at math.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so he loses his shit, and I don't know why. He's like, "You got your gun, we gotta go," and he's panicking. And this is an Army Ranger. I ain't never seen my dad flip out like this. And so he's running, and he's not even on the trail. I'm like, "Hey, no, the trail's this way," and he's just like, "Oh man, that thing's looking right at us, blah 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 blah." And I'm like, "What in the hell?" I'm thinking it's a big ass cat, because that's what I'm scared of in the woods, is cats. I ain't worried about nothing else. I'm not talking about like bobcats. I'm talking about like cougars, mountain lions, Bengal tigers that for whatever reason are on the loose in Mayaca City right now.
Mhm.
Like you get out there in the middle of the shit, and it's like, "Oh yeah, hey, by the way, 3 Bengal tigers got out from Ripley's last week." We don't know.
Oh my!
Okay.
That's a real story.
You mean on top of everything else, you guys
Top
got
everything else.
like the snakes and the
So
alligators.
let me ask you this:
All of it thrives.
Who wins in a fight, Bengal tiger or skunk ape?
Shit, I don't know. It depends if Skunk Ape knows the Bengal tiger's there. I don't think Bengal tiger won't none. It'd probably be like a Cincinnati Bengal tiger at that point. He just
Yeah, but Bengal tigers, they get all the way up to 1,500 pounds or something crazy.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
They're big.
yeah, these
They're bigger. They'd be twice the weight of a Sasquatch.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to Bengal tiger.
But they're
Not
very
the Cincinnati.
limited. They're very limited. They can only attack you one way.
From behind.
Yep. They don't want to do it, up front. So I don't think you would get to know. That's my problem. I don't think you would know that it got you. It would just get you.
Well, that's why people in India, when they're out and they're farming, they make these paper mache masks and they put them on the back of their heads and they paint them up like a real face because that's how tigers attack you. They will not come and attack you front on. And so they put these paper mache masks on the back of their heads.
Yeah. My dad said they put googly eyes on the back of their helmets. When they were in the Rangers, they would put googly eyes on the back of their helmets. So,
Wow.
But yeah, everything thrives down here. But what were we talking about?
Oh, how scared how
Oh yeah,
scared
yeah.
your dad
So
was
he was flipping out. I'm starting to flip out. The camera's dead, which new batteries. When we left the tent or when we left the camp, you'll see us leave camp. Okay, that clip that you see is edited down for the movie. It's like 20 minutes long. Okay, it's literally just us walking through the woods, and you can't hear much. We're hearing this stuff, but the cicadas are so loud. It's like ah, 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 ah. And so we're hearing things off. We're hearing some over here, hearing some over there, and then you hear this thing coming down a ridge, and it just stops. My Dad's like, "Oh, it's right there." You know what I mean? And I didn't know the whole time. So after he flips out, and that was another thing, is because the thing goes the way we had to go. It run back.
And he didn't tell you.
No, he didn't tell me none of that stuff. He just told me to get my gun out. So we end up. He ends up kind of telling me when we're taking down the tent and stuff like that. We got stuff in the truck. We got some batteries in the truck. Let's just get this stuff out of here, man. Blah blah. And so we get it out of there. And we continue to hear this thing. Like, it didn't really leave. It wasn't like we bothered it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wondered, later on, it's just like, because there's, like, I became good friends with the Rangers at that park. And so, like, they all had my number and would call me and be like, "Hey, we had to get somebody out of the woods last night. Something was after them." You know what I mean? Yeah. This would happen a few times a year. This wasn't. And that's the thing about that park. And it's a terrible thing because Hurricane Michael completely destroyed the park.
Okay.
You used to be able to go to that film site. I used to take people to the film site and hand them a thermal. I'd be like, all right, tell me how we did it. Because that's the thing. People would, and the people after it come out, they are always like, oh, he hoaxed it, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, hey, man, you come down here then, and I'll give you the damn thermal, take you to the exact spot, and you can tell me how we did it. And I want you to look at me and ask yourself, how stupid is this man?
So let me ask you this. And I know you said the only thing that really scares you, big cats and things like that. Do you believe that the Florida skunk ape is a imminent danger to people out in the woods?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, honestly.
It'd kill you.
Why not?
Well, that's what I'm trying to think. Is that I don't think that these are benevolent creatures. I mean, if they're meat eaters, and that's what everyone suggests that they are, they're meat eaters. Why wouldn't they kill and eat a human?
Well, yeah. Well, okay. So, hey, how would you consider a chimpanzee or a baboon? If they were in your, okay, let's backtrack it. Let's say there's a city park that you take your family to and walk that trail. And now all of a sudden you realize there's 3 chimpanzees living on that trail.
I'd be scared to death and I wouldn't do it.
Why? Because you think
I've seen those videos where chimpanzees rip that woman's face off and they.
Yeah, so why wouldn't a Bigfoot be like that? Why wouldn't a skunk ape be like that? Is what I'm saying. You know, I don't understand it. It seems more like in Florida we have these terrible attacks, like Arkansas, the South, more or less. We have these just horrendous, terrifying attacks, and then out west, it's like the Bigfoots just smoke dope and do shrooms out there because they're all mellow. But I think it's the people. I think it's the same thing, and I think it's just how people just view the world. I don't know, man. But I know these things down here. A lot of the encounters we get are like bad encounters. They're not good.
Well, I mean, we've mentioned this before, and David Pilates, shows Missing 411 about people, hunters, experienced outdoorsmen who just 100% go missing with nothing left behind in these national parks. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, if a bear got this guy, there'd be a pack, there'd be stuff strewn everywhere. But no, there's nothing. And short of some really, really good serial killer who happens to be out in the brush and, is able to get a guy that's experienced hunter with a gun, which seems pretty unlikely, what other plausible explanation do you have for them not finding anything? No tent, no food, no backpack, no weapon, nothing, just gone.
Well, that's, down here it's the same thing. It doesn't take long for a body to disappear out here. But still, And hey, if y'all haven't seen his movie Missing 401, I think it's The Hunted or something.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent. Yeah.
Movie was badass, dude. I didn't like the first one he made. I didn't like the first one. I thought it was too long. But that second one, I was like, wow, dude.
Actually, the last story in that Hunted where the woman was out there and saw like the predator type thing up in the tree.
Right.
That was literally down the road from where the judge's ex-wife lived.
Yeah, literally within a mile of where she lived.
It's not that far from.
Oh no! And at that time,
a mile from where he met her at the bar.
No,
that's a whole. We already discussed that before. That's a whole other podcast. It's only
Right on.
Be available behind the paywall.
Yeah. People go missing. I guess I'm from the ilk that I think these things are incredibly dangerous, that they're not these super intelligent things that are here to study us and benevolent and whatever. I think these things are super apex predators, and you go messing around in the woods, you may end up being dinner. Because it only makes sense. And I tell you this because from a biological standpoint, bears really aren't attracted to humans because we don't have a high enough fat content, because bears' nose are so sensitive. However, once a bear kills a human and they realize how easy it is to get to their organs, how soft our skin is, that's all they want to eat. They don't want to eat elk anymore. They don't want to eat moose. They don't even want to eat deer. All they want to do is eat humans, because and you think about a Sasquatch that does not have the claws, the teeth that a bear does. A bear has to work to tear open a moose or an elk through its 7 layers of hide to get to its organs. Whereas you think about how soft our body cavities are. And I'm thinking to myself, if Sasquatch is a predator, a meat eater, and it kills a human, how easy it is to consume us, we're going to be one of its primary items on its wish list as far as eating.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, Stacy, then that leads me back to the first experience you had then. Why do you suppose it got clear into to where you guys were sleeping and didn't just
attack and kill you?
Yeah, attack and kill you.
I think it was almost maybe a curious thing. Now, honestly, I have no idea. It blows my mind.
Yeah, I mean,
You know what I mean? Maybe it would have been different if it was children or like a female.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not the biggest person in the world, but, I am somewhat masculine.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not arguing with that one bit.
Well, here's the other thing is you're telling us that this was an incredibly remote area.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe these things had never actually killed a human and ate one. So it wasn't 100% sure you were something it wanted to kill and eat.
It may have been watching them people for a while and just was kind of wondering what we were doing out there, or maybe wondering what the tent was. You know what I mean? It knew we were in the tent.
She said nobody had hunted or had ever camped out there.
Nobody had ever camped out there, so I don't know that they had seen a tent before. I'm sure it would have seen a tent at some point. But hell, who knows? We definitely started using that as an attractant, and then it just set me off on that whole path, of this is an ape, this is a flesh and blood creature.
Well, there was I just watched it the other day, Monsters in America or whatever. They were talking about whether or not chimpanzees or some apes could be living in the Florida swamps. And they actually did a whole thing on that, and that whether a large primate could survive in the Florida swamps. And the answer is, I think Stacy already answers, well, yeah. I mean, there's
He's seen it a couple times.
Yeah, I mean, there's fruits, there's orange. What all do you have? You got orange groves, mangroves.
Yeah, grapes. Persimmons, all kinds of stuff. Crab apples, a bunch of different fruit. Palmetto berries are the main thing because they're plentiful. So that's a whole lot for the food source down here. There's been reports of like FWC having to go out and show up at people's house where they're seeing orangutans and stuff like that, and they actually been the animals. However or not the animals got loose, they theorize some is from like Hurricane Andrew. So a lot of the things when you're Bigfooting down here, if you hear something, we have monkeys down here.
Yeah.
You can't just jump to it's a Bigfoot. It's like, well, that's a cool ass sound. So like when a few years ago, we found this arm on a property that we were Bigfoot hunting in the Ocala National Forest. And you're on a place where you're hunting skunk ape.
Human arm or animal arm?
His arm, right? So that's all we know is it's an arm. It's like 19 inches. So call the law. They come out and tell us it ain't a human. So then we call the FWC, and they tell us it's some type of primate. Non-human primates, what they told us is some type of non-human primate, probably a monkey. Y'all need to leave it alone. I was like, hell, we gonna get it tested. If they telling us it's a monkey, that's a big ass monkey to have a 19-inch arm. Turns out everybody was wrong. It was a rear alligator leg that had been after all the flesh was gone off of it, something had like extended it.
Oh wow.
You know, and you know, that's the thing. It's like we didn't know if it was a monkey or anything. We do have primates out here. We were in this old like cypress swamp in Goethe State Forest, and did a howl, and then I got one reply, and it was like fairly close up in the top of the tree, and then there was like 100 of these things started replying, is what it sounded like. You know what I mean? It's a bunch of them monkeys that are around like Ocala and stuff like that.
Like what kind of monkeys are we talking?
It's
about?
the one.
They're little rhesus macaws, or
Yeah.
I think it's how you say it. Yeah.
It's the ones that got loose during the filming of. They're in Silver Springs or something, right?
Yeah,
Something like
they ain't get loose. They turned them damn things loose.
They
left.
Well, they left them on the island or something, thinking they couldn't swim or something. And
Oh, that's right.
yeah, we've heard that. Yeah.
There's so many of them, and I mean, like we got them on game cam. You know, so it's Bigfooting in Florida is the most interesting place to Bigfoot, and I promise you, I've been everywhere.
For people's knowledge, these macaws, I'm just looking at now, males get up to about 17 pounds.
Yep.
And females are about 12 pounds, and they live for 25 years. And their gestational period's 166 days. So you can imagine how many of these things.
They're almost like rabbits.
Yeah, they're breeding, and I'll tell you what, 17 pounds. You think about it. You think, well, 17 pounds. Whatever. But imagine a 17-pound rat. Would you fight a 17-pound rat? Hell no, I wouldn't fight a 17-pound rat. That monkey tear you to pieces at 17 pounds.
So,
we ain't. We not only have to worry about bears, we have to worry about little bitty monkeys coming in our tents.
Well, that's a lot of food, though. I mean, those little monkeys for alligators, for the panthers, for Bigfoot, the Bigfoot.
Well, they got some type of, I don't know what eats them, and I don't know. They got
herpes,
some.
Right? Herpes.
I mean, everybody's
heard that
got
too.
herpes, right? So, but yeah, no, they got some type of herpes that like kills you.
Yeah, we
discussed that with Mark
discussed
Muncy.
that with Mark Muncy on Erie, Florida.
That was a left turn we took there with Mark Muncy and
with
the herpes.
the herpes monkeys.
Yeah, but Stacy, so I want to ask you how many times? Now you said you revisited that first place quite a few times. Yeah,
like 7 years. That was like my main investigation site for 7 years.
So, did you have any more notable encounters, or was the first one the best?
It got strange, man. Like it got weird. Like my theories on what these creatures are completely did a 180.
Well, I'm excited to hear what your theories are, because we've gotten different people on here with different theories.
So here's another thing that I recently found out. The United States Geological Society does a survey of magnetic anomalies across the country, and they did one for the state of Florida. And where my father got his footage and where this property is the reddest spot on the map. So this may also be why the majority of all of the reports that I ever heard come from this one area. Maybe it's where the high concentration, maybe it has something to do with that.
Anybody report seeing like the orbs and the things like that we've...
Oh yeah, you're talking to them. So, we started seeing lights, and like the first time I saw a light, me and my buddy David, who was on Bigfoot Bounty with me, he was sitting about 5 yards away from him. We were knocking back and forth with something that was on the other side of this creek. It was about 100 yards away. Well, once it got to the edge of the creek over there, the knocking stopped, but this light appeared in between me and him. If you looked at the light, you couldn't see it. But if you look back forward, you can see that thing out your eye, like your peripheral. Couldn't see it if you looked straight at it. But you turn, And you're talking about in the middle of the woods, middle of the night.
How big was it?
Probably about the size of, I guess about softball, grapefruit. So, you know, no big deal. We just seen a weird light. Didn't change my thoughts. I had a game camera. I had a bunch of Reconyx cameras, really good game cameras. And I had this thing set where it would take pictures, like it was so sensitive, the slightest movement, you know. So it would take like 14,000 pictures in a day. Well, I mean, you could just scroll through it though, like so quick. Yeah. It would take you like probably 20 minutes. You just sit there and you hit it and you scroll through all the pictures. So we'd hang whatever, you know. This one time we hung like a citrus bag and had mullet in it, like some fish, right? Some guts and stuff. I like backbones. I cleaned out some scraps. The bag's there all day. Game camera shuts off for 2 minutes. Comes back on, bag's gone. Camera continues to take pictures. So, all right, hey, you know, whatever. That was a big moment. That almost made everybody nuts, because that happened in the middle of the damn day while we were there, up there around the house. Like, we could have turned around and looked down the hill and seen the thing, but we didn't. So, then I guess one of the most profound encounters we had with the lights, because we kept, you know, like messing with the lights. Once we started figuring out we could like call them, that's when it kind of got strange. But I had a buddy of mine, the guy Marty at the beginning of Skunk Ape Lives, he shot a skunk ape. Well, we became friends after I met him. He told me that story. Anyways, his brother came out, and his brother said, "Hey, I want to see the lights." And my girlfriend, she's like, "I want to see the lights too." So we took him out in the middle of the woods, and we sat there, and I told him, I said, "Hey, it's going to sound like we're completely insane." And I just started dating my girlfriend at the time, so this is going to sound completely insane, but we're going to talk to the woods, okay? And then so we did. We sat there and talked to the woods. About 26 minutes went by. Like, I won't even forget it, because I remember looking. 26 minutes.
I was going to say it's very specific.
Yeah. 26 minutes, we got a light. And it floats to us. Now, this is about the size of a cigarette cherry, right? And it's floating to us like that damn feather in Forrest Gump. And David's sitting there talking to it. He's like, "Hey, come on over here in with us. We just want to see you. Don't get scared. Come on. This thing comes up in the middle of us, and it goes to leave. My girlfriend sticks her hand out, and it almost touches her hand. Like, she pulls her hand away and like jumps back. So it turns around and comes back. David sticks his hand out. This damn orb lands in the middle of his hand and then goes out. And we immediately all turn our damn lights on. Ain't nothing in his hand, bro. So we sit back down. And David's like, "Can you bring the Bigfoots?" And I ain't messing with you. It was like 4 or 5 minutes later. Something big, nobody seen it. It walked up that hill we were sitting on and let out this like growl and walked back down that hill. Right? So then we go to leave, probably about after an hour or so of sitting there. And Monroe says to David, he goes, "Hey, you gonna let that orb up out your backpack, or you just gonna take it to the house with you?" Just joking, bro. Just joking. We hadn't seen the orb probably in almost an hour at this point or so. You know, it had been a while, like. So, right as he says that, this damn orb flies up off the back of David, circles us about 3 or 4 times in the air. Like, it's probably 5-10 feet up over our head, and it circles us, and then it flies back over to where we were sitting down and goes in the ground. And that was that was the moment. It was like, all right, dude, we just showed this to two people who were skeptics, to say the least. You know what I mean? Like, hey, this stuff didn't happen to them. They were probably just sitting out there being nice, entertaining us. You know, I don't know what the hell my girlfriend thought she was getting into, but she got into it, you know, and it was a real thing. Like, nobody could argue what just happened. Like, this thing was intelligent. This thing, like, David literally called this up. So then it became a, can we repeat this? And yes, you can. You can repeat it a bunch of times. And we did. So it just ended up turning me into not knowing what these creatures are at all. I thought I had a handle on it. I thought I was pretty confident I was in the ape camp. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that ain't what they are. But, dude, I got a good Les Stroud, a buddy of mine, a real good friend of mine. This man is not crazy. Like, if out of the two of us, you would probably think I was actually insane. But him, he comes across as a straight guy. So he believes they talk to him telepathically. He's had a lot of the same encounters that I have. And this is a man that's, like, respected and stuff. You know what I'm saying? So coming from him, I was just like, wow. And that was the first time we talked Bigfoot with him. He asked me if I would go to lunch with him and talk Bigfoot. And I told him right then, I was like, listen, you know, if you really want to talk Bigfoot, I probably ain't going to be what you're used to hearing, man. Like, because when people come up and ask me, oh, Bigfoot, you ain't found Bigfoot, I don't go down into the rabbit hole. I don't go down the rabbit hole with a lot of people. But if you want to sit down and talk about, like, the weird shit that I've seen and the weird stuff that continues to happen, the shadows, like, I tote paranormal equipment with me now. I'm probably one of the only ghost or Bigfoot hunters that's completely taking every single instrument I can to communicate with these things. Because, hey, if they are something else, then maybe these other tools. You know, you'd be shocked at the tree structures we find that got really high EMF readings.
Really?
Yeah. So it's such a taboo thing that it'll turn people off of you. So don't go broadcasting it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. The lights are there. I can't argue with them. I can't say that 100% that they're Bigfoot, but I can't ignore it.
Well, you know, the interesting thing is I've always been, I had a dogman experience when I was a kid, and I've always been, you know, a flesh and blood guy. And I was on Sasquatch Chronicles with Wes, and, you know, we got to the end of pretty much the show, and, you know, Wes and I are talking, and he brings up this, hey, listen, I think, you know, Bigfoot, Dogman, I think these things, you know, have a connection with these orbs, and they're multidimensional beings, and, you know, they're flesh and blood here, but they travel back and forth with these orbs. And I was like, man, I can't, you know, he was really the first guy that laid that out. And then, like, the next week, we had Linda Gottfried on our podcast, who is the godmother of Dogman.
Oh, yeah.
And she starts telling us you know, I've read 3 of her books, and she's never mentioned these things about orbs. And she lays it out that, hey, look, you know, she sees these orbs, and they go to this place where the werewolves are supposed to hang out at this farm, kind of like the place you're going. Mm-hmm. And these orbs, just like you described, come floating in, like bouncing on the air like a feather. And, you know, there's just – and then I was just watching Seth Breedlove's Momo documentary, and same thing, people seeing these orbs and connection. And so there has to be this connection between these orbs and these cryptids.
Well, see, in both of my sites that I've had 2 main sites at this point in my life. Both of them were Indian, like, villages. Okay? So Depending on what you believe with the paranormal, depending on what you believe with like the spiritual and stuff. For some reason, these things are all seem to be like concentrated in these one areas. But
and I'm not to cut you off, but that's what Linda Godfrey, the dog man, became the popular, culture through Bray Road. And that they had done this research and found that there was these Indian burial mounds, like the mounds within, they draw these lines of intersection, and they all intersect basically with Bray Road.
Well, so, okay, I met this guy named Wayne Wilson. All right. I don't know if y'all know who C. Wayne Wilson is or not. He contracted me to make a movie for him. So I was hanging out with him, and I'm like, wow, dude. Hey, I'll do the rest of this film for free if you just let me make it the way I want to make it, because he's a really interesting guy. But he had something that kind of blew my mind. He said it was people. Some people can see him and some people can't because of the frequencies that they're on. Like almost, I guess, if we had a radio station, our brain was dialed into. And I got to thinking about it, and I'm colorblind, right? So if I'm looking at something that's green to me, and you're looking at the same thing, you're looking at it as red. You're seeing red. It doesn't mean that I'm wrong. I'm just perceiving this differently. So is he, when he's looking and he's seeing his paranoia and stuff, what some people are calling paranoia, is he actually seeing it? I mean, is it actually really there? So that kind of made me dive a little bit further, and now I'm at the point where I ask every single person that's had an encounter, it's like, all right, have you also seen a UFO? Have you also had a paranormal encounter? Because I've yet to find a person who hasn't. If they've seen a Bigfoot, they've also seen a UFO. I'm sure there's some. I'm sure I'm going to come across some who haven't seen one yet, but I'm almost thinking that it's certain people see these things. Like maybe you are on a different frequency. If any of that makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Like once you've opened the door, or
exactly.
Once you're open, who knows what's going to come on through. If you're open to that experience in one thing, then you're probably open to experiencing everything. Especially if we're talking interdimensional spirit type stuff in regards to all of it.
I could do paranormal research too here lately, but I study Aleister Crowley, right?
Oh yeah.
No.
And before he would do his rituals and his magic, he would completely exhaust himself. Like run for days, not eat, stay up for days, and then he would have all these visions. And sleep deprivation does cause hallucinations, but like he said, it would break down that. Yeah, right. But he said it would break that veil down and allow you to see into this world. So what if maybe some people, just their brain, I guess, what if we all see it? Your brain doesn't allow you to see certain things out of, like a safety mechanism or something like that. But some people see it. I don't know how it works, but I've got this theory now that it's like all connected, and so it's only affecting certain people. And what are the similarities in those people? I think the answer to all of it lies in the witnesses.
Oh yeah.
Maybe we all have a third eye.
Maybe we do, and some of it is just not opened. But that's my next rabbit hole I'm diving into, is like I'm trying to find the connection in between the witnesses of all this stuff. I think maybe it's worth looking into.
I think it sounds like obviously it is worth looking, because the more we talk to people, the more.
Right. Well, yeah. The first time, I remember probably 2 years ago, before we ever even came up with the idea to do the podcast, and I remember seeing some Bigfoot shows, and people were talking about, I saw this orb beforehand. I was like, there's no connection. What the hell is wrong with you? And it just seemed preposterous to me. But the more people we talk to, and we're talking about, big people in the field, people who've talked to people, and interviewed tons of people, and we just keep coming back to the same thing. And now I'm like, gee, me Christmas. Does this make Bigfoot, Dogman, Momo, does these make these cryptids more scary or less scary? Because I got to be honest with you, if these are multi-dimensional beings, what in the hell is that other dimension like?
I don't know, but I
seriously.
want to go. I mean,
I
like
think
if something comes out of it, it's like, hey, come on, we got to ride, cuz. I'm like, all right, we're going. Let's go see what's doing. I don't think you got to pay bills on that side.
Oh, I think you probably have to pay with your soul.
Well, did you ever see the movie? Did you guys ever see the movie Event Horizon?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, great movie. But they basically bend space time through a gravity drive, and the spaceship disappears, and it goes into this other dimension, which they theorized was hell. And I'm sitting there thinking, if these cryptid creatures, if that's what populates that side of the veil, I don't want to go there.
Did you watch any of the debate last night? I think we've already gone into
don't bring up politics.
I'm just saying. I think we've already gone into the other.
But yeah, I mean, seriously,
we've already rewrote the history of the Civil War on this show.
That's true.
They totally trashed the Boys Club. I don't even know how.
But seriously, what else is on that side? I mean, come on, man. I gotta be honest.
Yeah, but what do you think they think about us?
Food.
They probably
are like, who are these?
Food.
What I believe is like it may seem scary to us now, and it's just unimaginable.
Because we don't understand it.
Yeah, dude, like in 100 years, all the shit's probably gonna make sense, and it's gonna be something simple, and it's gonna be something that we're like, okay, yeah, hey, aliens are real. There's things in the other dimensions,
I gotta be honest with you, a 6 to 7 foot wolf creature that's bipedal never isn't scary.
But it's only scary because you don't know.
Right.
I mean, it's like the dog. Okay, it's like the big German Shepherd on Union Street that barks at me every day, and it's got a log chain, and this thing is like, I think it's going to kill me every day. One day it got loose. All right, and I'm just like, I don't carry dog spray. I'm not. Thing comes up to me, it gets down hunkers down, wants me to pet it. Here, I think this whole time I keep seeing this big, huge. I mean, it's got to be 130 pounds. It's going to kill me. It's going to eat me. And as soon as I got face to face with it, it got loose, and it could have eaten me. It just wanted me to pet it so it could run off down the street.
And I'll tell you what, we find a dog man, you pet it.
Yeah. What if Dogman's name? What if Dogman's name is Eugene, and he just wants to talk to you about why Baker Mayfield is a bust?
Hey, now, come on, that's no fair.
I mean, like, for real, what if he's a really nice guy and you're just terrified? You just run.
Do I need to remind you that are you a Dolphins fan?
Hey, now, we went undefeated in 1972, so I won't hear nothing.
Okay, I know. Nothing. Every other Dolphins fan I know is still hanging their hat on that one.
That's all we got, bro. That's all we got.
Well, so, we definitely, I mean, this is stuff we never even imagined that we were going to hear from you. I mean, this is some great.
This is deep stuff.
I mean, what it does is it ties all these other guests we've had on, it just ties everybody's story together. And I mean, if anybody's going to get to the bottom of it, I think you are going to be the one that gets to the bottom of it, because you seem to, you're all in on how these things are tied together. And the key is the witnesses. I truly believe, because we know people who.
Well, what would the cops do? So, like, what would the police do? They had a bunch of witnesses is one thing. I mean, wouldn't they start trying to find out who these witnesses were?
How they were connected.
Exactly.
Well, what is the common denominator amongst all? You have to say, what's the common denominator amongst all these eyewitnesses? What is it about each witness that makes them either unique or they're not unique at all? You know what I'm saying?
I have no idea. I haven't gotten into it that much, but I think whatever it is.
That's the key right there.
I know a lot of them are. A lot of the researchers tend to be like artists, musicians, There's a lot of that in the
Was
field.
it left-brained people, right? Is that the
maybe?
artistic?
It could be. I don't know. I don't know what. I honestly have no idea what it could be.
I don't know if you took 100 sightings and asked people what's your astrological sign. I don't know what you might find.
What I mean? Also, you gotta filter out who's all lying, who's all not telling the truth, because that's going to throw your data off. So I believe it's probably one of the harder things, because ultimately, I don't believe I'm going to ever find proof. I don't think anybody's going to ever find proof in the woods. I think we're better off going towards disclosure. I do actually believe there's a person on this planet who knows this shit.
Well, in 1886, somebody.
Well, I mean,
right.
Well, Hope for Middles and Bastards.
Hey, I don't, like you said, we don't want to give away too much from the documentary, the Skunk Ape Lives, but the one story in there seems to lend credence to that theory that there's some people on the planet that really know what's going on, and why aren't they telling the rest of us?
And I don't want to spoil it, but there's a body.
There may be some like Hellboy type prophecy that they're trying to keep the world from. But who knows? There's so many theories as to why the government wouldn't want to tell us. But I think probably our best bet, just simply because they'll cover up whatever we're doing anyways. If this guy in my movie is telling the truth, they're going to cover up regardless.
Yeah.
So our best bet is probably like applying pressure, like Tom DeLonge from 182's done, and then you get some stuff released.
Well, look, they've come out and admitted they've got spacecrafts.
Yeah.
After the footage, then
and why is that not a bigger thing than it is?
That's exactly.
Like people don't even they're not even noticing it.
They
Like
don't care.
No,
well, I think what you do is, you think about it. There's so much going on. There's so much going on in this country. A bunch of craziness, and it's like the government's like, "Hey, look, let's go ahead and leak something now with all the other craziness that's going on."
But is the craziness going on so they could release this information?
I don't think so.
Well, look, there's.
I think so.
And all this stuff's going on is because they want to secretly leak the fact that there's UFOs.
Well, I believe that they
politicized
politicized a lot of things just so they could leak information out.
Yeah.
Well, let's put it this way. There's a whole school of thought that this COVID-19 stuff is really not a very serious virus, that only 6%, the CDC even said, only 6% of the people that have died of it died solely because of that. So you take 200,000 people in the country and through the CDC's own admission, and getting them to admit anything is not easy, because I look at their website. Then only 6% of those people actually purely died from that. So,
I think that would go with almost everything that kills you, other than a shotgun blast to the head.
Well,
is any illness is going to affect any other thing.
Well, it depends on serious and different things like that.
Yeah.
But they just come out, and the government comes out and says, "Hey, listen, we found off-world vehicles not of this world."
And nobody cares.
And nobody cares. Nobody acts like it's a big deal. It's like, what? I think that's more.
Can you imagine that coming out 30 or 40 years ago? Well, you can't, Stacy, because you weren't alive. But what I'm saying is I remember a time where if that news would have come out,
it'd have been earth-shattering.
Yeah, it would have been nuts.
Well, there was in Roswell,
Yes.
and it was earth-shattering. But then the people, they believed their government. And so they trusted their government when the government said, hey, it's just a weather balloon. And the problem today is that you got half of the population, for whatever reason, has decided to put their full faith in the federal government. And everything they say and everything the media slams down their throats. I don't know what happened to people's critical thinking skills, but they took it. It just like jumped off a cliff a few years ago or something. It just seems like everybody just got like stupid and decided to not question anything. And that's the world we live in right now.
That's a scary world.
I want to know why y'all are all of a sudden telling me that you got vehicles that ain't from this world. Why? What's changed?
Yeah, why tell us now?
Yeah, exactly.
Because it wasn't like it happened the week before.
Right.
You know
what I mean?
And who's driving those vehicles?
Yep.
Because somebody was driving.
And everybody's just like, oh my God, did you see what Trump tweeted? And they don't even think about the fact that the military has straight up said there's life on other planets.
But the thing about it is too, Stacy, is we got this report that there's off-world vehicles now in this world, and nobody asked a follow-up question like, well, what kind of ship was it? How big was it? Was it sea?
Nothing.
Was it air? Nobody's even asked.
Where did we find it?
Where did we find it? When did we find it? Was there bodies with it? I mean, what is its propulsion? I mean, the biggest question for me is, what was its propulsion system? Because if you're ever going to have interstellar travel, look, one of the biggest reasons why people say that, UFOs don't exist is because the incredible distances between us and Alpha Centauri is the nearest star to us at 4.8 light years to get there. I mean, so whatever this vehicle was, it would have to have a propulsion system so far advanced over what we have, it would solve the mystery of.
And that is why recently there's been physicists that have come out and said it's more likely for us to, all this stuff is from another dimension that's coming through a portal. Because
the speed of light, the coordinates for the Great Pyramid is the speed of light.
This is crazy.
It's like, how did they know that? It's like at some point we forgot what the hell all this means, and we gotten dumbed down. You know what I'm saying? But I think some people still know.
I think for you guys out in Florida, it happened in 1973, the year after the Dolphins were undefeated. You guys
just gave up on everything.
You guys lost your minds, and it's never been the same ever since. I mean, tell me stuff isn't crazy. David Woodley took the Dolphins to the Super Bowl. I mean, seriously.
That sounds more like a problem of the competition than we can only beat the opponents that that are placed in front of us. Now we just can't beat any of them, and we will get shellacked this weekend by the Seahawks.
Well, the thing is, I think people are more consumed with mundane things, and do I got a TikTok video that people are so worried about getting likes on a Facebook picture and less worried about what the hell is really going on in this world and what, the answers to the universe.
In reality, how has the government owning or having UFOs or in their possession, how's that affected our everyday life?
It doesn't.
It doesn't. And I think that's probably what it's
what if
come
it
down
does,
to.
though? Like, what if certain things that we have now is only because of that? Like, what if we sped up our own evolution and we're about to go into this AI cycle of, you had we was making stuff with stones. Now all of a sudden we're taking it into this AI thing where AI is eventually going to take over. Like, I've seen the Terminator. I know what the hell is coming. But for real, man. Like, how much did discovering alien life speed up our own evolution, like, as a species? Because, like, we went from horse and buggy, or basically, I mean, look at World War One, and World War II, and then look, Roswell happened, and then look how much difference there was in, like, 20 years. We haven't really made them leaps since then.
About it. You think about it this way. Let's put it this way. In the Civil War ended 1865, 64. So the Civil War ends there. And 100 years later. Now, 100 years is really not that much considering we got great grandparents that are 90-some years old. Yeah. We go to the moon.
We didn't go to the moon.
He's gonna go down that road.
But go ahead.
But we go from horse and buggy to we can put a man in space.
Right.
In 100 years. I mean, and when you think about the history of the world and from there's thousands of years pass in time where human evolution is almost very little. You know what I mean? I mean, the Bronze Age lasted how long? And you think, but yet in 100 years we go from that to we can put a man in space. we now have a propulsion system that we can have
we now
airplanes that fly.
supposedly carry around in our pockets and hands a computer that is more powerful than the what was on the spaceship that did or did not go to the moon, according, I don't know.
Well, we are really going down the rabbit
Are you
hole.
talking about? Are you talking about my cell phone or my Red Bull can?
Either or, because I mean, to me, the spaceship was probably built out of material similar to your Red Bull can.
Have you seen it?
The Red Bull can?
No, I have not.
The spaceship.
No, I haven't. No.
You need to look at it, bro. You need to look at it and then ask yourself again: did they take that shit into space? Hell no, they ain't taking it into space. You know what's on the other side of the moon, or well, in between us and the moon is the Van Allen radiation belt. We can't get through that thing now.
Absolutely. Yep.
However, in 1967, under the Richard Nixon administration, we went to the moon 4 times, and we went back since. I wonder why that is. Especially if I'm trying to get to Mars. Wouldn't I go ahead and put me something on the moon so I could kind of leapfrog? You know what I'm saying? You know,
Yeah.
like, hey, the International Space Station is not in space. It's in low Earth orbit on the other side of that radiation belt that sits in between us and the moon. And then go look at that space shuttle or that space capsule and ask yourself, and also look at old Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin and look at them, and they got all these tumors and shit growing all over them from the radiation. They went to the moon, didn't die, come back. Yay, you know what I mean? America won the space race. Give me a break, dude. There's no way in hell. And then not to mention, they can beam that shit back from the moon in like 3 seconds. However, if it's raining outside, the damn Dolphins game don't come through on the satellite. And this is 2020. But back then, in 1967, they're blasting signals with only a 3-second delay. Like, man, I ain't stupid.
Well,
those are very good points.
I got to be honest with you. When we started this interview tonight, I was expecting to get a lot of Skunk Ape, but we have really gotten a lot of material.
Yeah, this is fantastic, and all those points seem very valid. I've never been one to really question the whole space thing, because I really don't have that much interest in going to the moon or going to Mars or anything like that.
It's not your
it's not my
area of study.
But you're not the first to question the validity of whether we went to the moon and anything that had to, but
real quick, sense. I know we'll make sure we ask Stacy, do you have any other projects coming out here in the near future that you want to give a shout out about?
I got a Skunk Ape podcast where I talk to people who either research or have seen the skunk ape. No Bigfoot, no nothing else, just people that seen the Florida skunk ape. So y'all can check that out on my YouTube at Bigfoot Stacy. And I got a new movie coming out with Les Stroud. It's my first feature film that I've made. Oh, hold on, let me backtrack. I've got a movie coming out with Tom Green and Les Stroud on October 6th, and it'll be in Redbox and iTunes. It's a little Redbox at the Walmart or whatever. You'll see my mug up there with Tom Green's. It's called Interviewing Monsters and Bigfoot. And it is absolutely the worst movie I've ever seen, but it was fun to make, and I was in a movie with Tom Green, who was like one of my childhood heroes, I got to play his nemesis, so I got to hang out with him a lot, and we had some cool stuff on camera. But my film that I made, The Pit, starring Les Stroud and myself, comes out on Valentine's Day. It's about basically two old war buddies. They hook up after like 20 years, go camping in Florida, and the ground just kind of swallows them up. They fall into a dry sinkhole, and they're stuck there for 50 days with no way out. And so it goes into insanity and, cannibalism and all that thing. All that kind of
So
stuff.
it's a perfect Valentine date movie.
A Valentine's Day Massacre.
There you go.
I mean, is that why the timing of it coming out?
No, that was just like, hey, for marketing reasons, it worked out better that way.
Well, I can't wait to see the Tom Green thing. That sounds great.
It's like, I guess, like Napoleon Dynamite that kind of comedy, but like not as good. Rick Dyer is in it. He plays himself a hoaxer.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
How did you? Okay, so I assume he has a good sense of humor about being a fake.
Oh yeah, he absolutely doesn't care. He loves it. He is so happy that he fooled everyone. And like when you sit there and listen to the Bigfoot community, some of these people go back and forth with each other. I'm glad he fooled all of them. I hope he does it again. Like y'all are stupid enough. Y'all bought into it twice, bro. Like you deserved it.
All right, now you're not pulling our legs, are you?
No, I ain't
mean,
pulling your legs, but like, come on, you've been on like the coalition and some of them other groups online, and just been like, wow, the way they trash each other. So when stuff like that happens to them, hey, get what you deserve, bro. You're a bunch of pricks all the time. So glad somebody comes in here and makes you look like a joke.
I got to tell you, I don't know what the judge and Jason think, but you know what? You're my favorite guest.
Yes.
You absolutely have just told it exactly how it is, and I think that's fantastic.
Yep.
I would certainly say you're a straight shooter.
Straight shooter.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, look, you might as well be, right? You only get to go around once, unless you're the Dyer guy. I guess he's going.
Hey, you want to know like funny story about that movie? Me and him have a shootout in there, right?
Okay.
Because he's, like I said, he's a hoaxer. And so we were shooting blanks. And we were about 15 feet away from each other, maybe 15 yards. And when you're shooting blanks, the projectile will come out, but that wad comes out.
Mm-hmm.
It hit me right in between the eyes, bro.
Damn.
He shot me dead in between the eyes. And I was like, holy shit. Then it was a thing like, hey, why are y'all letting us do this? Like, it was a big deal. They were like, oh, yeah, okay, hey, no more pointing the guns at each other. And I'm like, man, because it hurt. It, like, knocked my head back.
What could have put your eye out?
Jeez.
I'm assuming if I'd have been a little bit closer and my skull wouldn't have been as thick as it is, I probably could have really been hurt.
Well, thank God you weren't, because
Right.
Thank God you weren't, because like I said, I think you're going to get to the bottom of what's really going on, because I think you.
We're gonna try.
I think you got a good start.
One last thing, we got this. My next Skunk Ape film. I am gonna do a sequel to the Skunk Ape Lives. And that's, I don't want to give that away, but I know you probably look at it and be like, how more could you do it? And when you see it, you'll be like, oh, okay, I get it now, because the way I end the Skunk Ape Lives actually goes right into it without missing a beat into the next one. But me and Bill Brock had an encounter in Myakka State Park in 2013. And we are making a film called The Monster of the Myakka. And so we're going to be putting some stuff out of that probably right at Halloween. And basically it's us telling about our encounter with the Myakka monster. And, where we go back to see if we can have the encounter again. And along the way, we talk to other people that's had the encounters, and there's one guy who believes it's cursed him. Like, you got about 5 or 6 different people there. We recreate their encounters and stuff, and they all have kind of different thoughts on the creature, but all the encounters are terrifying. So it's a really cool story, and it just leads into the end of the movie where we're hunting the creature to see if we can find anything. So we'll be probably dropping that right on Halloween, just the trailer for it.
Nice.
Well, Stacy, is there some place where people can go and keep track of what you're doing, like on Facebook, or do you have a website or anything like that, or what's the best place?
Yeah, my YouTube. That's basically the best place. Bigfoot Stacy, but you can find me on Facebook, Instagram. I post all my stuff to everywhere. So I got my film company, Best Dudes Films, and various places like that. So, but just Bigfoot Stacy. I tried to make it uniform. You can find me on whatever. Just Bigfoot Stacy.
Okay, and feel free when you get the trailer for this thing coming out on Halloween, send it our way, and we'll get it up on our Facebook and all our social media, and we'll help get the word out for sure. So, because like I said, I think everybody's going to enjoy the Skunk Ape Lives, and that sounds like it's just the tip of the iceberg of what you got coming. So, we're all looking forward to it for sure.
Oh yes.
Well, fellas, I appreciate you, man.
Yes,
It's been real.
Yes, it has.
This has
Thank
been
you.
fantastic, and we're so glad that you spent some time with us tonight for sure. So we're looking forward to the next thing that you got coming out and talking to you again.
Hell yeah, man.
So, all right. Well, you have a good one, and good luck finding the answers.
All right, brother. Y'all take it easy.
All right, take it easy
man.
now.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the From the Shadows podcast. Until next time, never shy away from the darkness or what may be lurking in the shadows. We are out.